Adaaaaaaa. You're watching the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean-Paul Leek, and this is Rope Break, Family Tuesday morning. You already know what it is. It is the Monday Night Raw review done by yours truly on the best podcast, like I had said. And this actually was a pretty good Monday Night Raw. I will, for Monday Night Raw, for modern day, wrestling standards, this was actually pretty good. And the reason I'm going to say that is because all the matches, the marquee, like the actual legit matches, were long matches that were, not just, 3 seconds done. They don't care. They were really good matches that ate up a huge chunk of time. And that makes the show enjoyable because when you have 37 segments, you can't pay attention. You don't really care. And that's usually what WWE main roster gives us. Tonight, though, we actually had a pretty good show. But before I get into it, I want to thank, each and every one of the new subscribers, old subscribers, every one of the Rope Break family. Thank you so much for being here with us. We're only going to keep growing and growing and growing, and that's for you guys, and it's because we love doing it. So, let's start Monday Night Raw. The show opened up. You see a recap from last Monday. Drew McIntyre, the amazing match he had with Randy Orton and becoming the WWE champion. So that was a good, just recap for the show, but then we cut to the ring, and the Raw Men Survivor Series team, they're in the ring, and Adam Pearce to start the show. And Pearce, he recaps everything happened at Survivor Series, says that winning in such a fashion means that each man has a chance to be next in line for Drew's WWE title. And then each man gets a chance to state why they should be the next #1 contender. Sheamus takes the mic first, saying AJ isn't the champion, or AJ isn't, the leader or the captain. And then he congratulates Drew for being a 2-time WWE champ, but he says that he reminds everyone that they're best friends, and he also says that he was the MVP of Team Raw. Then AJ takes the mic and says Sheamus is trying to use the good old buddy system for a title shot, and he says that he was the team MVP. Keith Lee interrupts, reminds Styles that he saved him from getting pinned, and, he eliminated the last man. And Riddle takes the mic and says that he pinned King Corbin and that he should be, the King Bro or King Riddle, whatever he called himself. And he's like, I need my dope crown, my dope sword. And then Sheamus, is just like, yeah, you would want the dope sword and the dope crown. And then they keep talking about the nicknames. And he's like, yeah, Fireface. And they go back and forth. And he called him Fire. He's like, I would have called you Fire Crotch, but that was already taken. So they really start, getting heated up. And then Braun, he takes the mic. He's upset because he, Pierce is like, he's like, all right. And last but not least, Braun Strowman. So then he, he's like, last, you know who I am. Strowman's really pissed off. The roid rage must have been hitting him that day because he headbutts Adam Pearce as we go to commercial break. So decent segment, trying to figure out the #1 contender. At this point, I was like, oh my God, here we go. It's going to be another bullshit. Like, let's just do like a fatal 5-way or some kind of bullshit. But the way they actually did it was really good. And we'll get to it as Adam Pearce, announces the matchups. So then back live, the Hurt Business, they're backstage with the New Day. They want another title shot. Cedric Alexander is saying that he refuses to sit on the sidelines and watch the New Day do cosplay. A confident Alexander steps to the champs face to face and is demanding a title shot. And the New Day, they were like, no. Like Kofi's like, hey man, it's our night off. Like, come on. Like, we don't have to do this. But he really gets under Xavier Woods' face or under his skin. And then Xavier Woods is like, no, we're going to have this match. So this was the first match of the night. The Hurt Business versus the New Day for the Raw Tag Team Championships. And this would have been the perfect time to do the title switch. They didn't do it, but I'm going to get into this thing because as it's going on, they actually had 2 matches because the first one ended in a count out. But so both men are on the top rope, but a headbutt by Kingston. And then Cedric rips Kofi off the top rope from the apron. And Benjamin and Kofi are both on the outside. Kofi's struggling to get back in the ring. And they both get counted out. So the New Day end up retaining the titles, obviously. And then post-match MVP, he's like, no. He's like, we got to redo this. He's like, you don't want to win like this, right? Like, you guys, like, this isn't how you want to get out of here. You want to be, legitimate champs, right? So Woods and Kingston, for whatever reason, they agree to get back in this thing. And I thought, okay, here we go. Now this is where the Hurt Business is going to win. This is the perfect time. The Hurt Business is only on the rise. Like, if you give them gold, it just legitimizes them, and makes, it makes them, okay, these guys are a Hurt Business. They should be taken seriously, unlike the other faction, Retribution. But We didn't see that. So the first match, they isolated Kofi. This one, they isolated Xavier Woods. But things break down in the ring. Kofi gets rid of Cedric, and then Wood lands a code red, reversing a power bomb on Shelton Benjamin for the 1-2-3. But this match was really good, though. This was long. By the time that this was over, it was already 8:40, 8:45. So you got to think, with the first segment and this, you're already almost an hour into the 3-hour show. That's what I like. That's how you make this long show that is usually unbearable, a lot more bearable, in my opinion. But I don't like the decision here. Juan didn't like the decision either. I told him he's probably not too fond of this, but I said, I hope if they're going to do anything, they're going to build this to TLC, and that's where you got to do the title switch. But I would have done it here tonight. New Day, they're great, but they're already 10-time tag champs. Give it to somebody new. They'll win it again at some point in their careers, especially when, they team back up with Big E. So, they should have gave it to the Hurt Business, but if they do it at TLC in a legit, TLC beat the hell out of each other type match, then I'll be fine with it. But backstage, Adam Pearce is asked how he's feeling after being headbutted by Braun Strowman, and he said he's fine, but he had Braun escorted from the building. He says that if it was up to him, Braun would be fired, and he said to make a big announcement prior to the incident. It was Charlie, excuse me. Charlie's like, well, what was that big announcement? And then before he can say anything, Bobby Lashley shows up, and he reminds Pearce that he beat Sami Zayn last night at Survivor Series, and he's clearly looking for a title shot. And then the two discuss as it goes to commercial. So then back live, we see Adam Pearce again, and the Charlie's like, okay, let's try this a second time. And then he said that he's made that Lashley made a compelling case, and then he's about to say what he wants to say again, and boom, then Randy Orton shows up. So it's like, okay, here we go again. So everybody's just really wants that title shot for Drew because it is up in the air. There was no clear number one contender, for anybody, leading into Survivor Series and now coming out of it. So then they just kind of show a recap of Lana being the sole survivor from the women's match. Okay. So in the backstage, we see Lana, and she's asked how she's feeling, and she notes that last night was the greatest moment of her career and that she's on top of the world. And then Lana asks what's next for her, and her response is that she just wants to live in the moment. So you went from that cocky Lana who was like, I'm better than everybody, really annoying. Now they turned her 100% baby face. So we'll see how this goes. I don't hate this. I'm not saying I like it, but I don't hate this. So we'll see where this goes. And then backstage, we see Adam Pearce, who's asked about the number one contendership a third time. And he states that there will be a series of 3 singles matches, and the winners of those 3 matches will be in a triple threat next week. And then the winner will face Drew for the title. And the first of those 3 matches is up now with Matt Riddle taking on Sheamus. So Riddle comes out first, and then Sheamus, and the match starts when we come back from the commercial break. But I just want to say before we get into this thing, this was the best match. This was, in my opinion, the best match of the night. Again, a very long, hard-hitting match. Sheamus is so good. What is he? He's like in his 40s. This dude is amazing. I would give him another run with the belt. Maybe not right now, take it from Drew, but if you pull some kind of bullshit and you give it to The Miz or you do something like that, I know they're high on the Fiend, Keith Lee, Riddle, and those guys obviously deserve it more, but Sheamus is right there with him, man. Sheamus is so good. And Matt Riddle, whether you love or hate his gimmick, he's one like Asuka. Sometimes you see Asuka, not in a match and she's just doing the dances and shit. And the same thing with Matt Riddle. He's goofy and you see them and you're like, what the hell? Really? Are these guys champs or championship material? And then the bell rings and you're like, oh, okay, now I see why. And Riddle proved it here again in this match. Again, really hard hitting, really good. There was a spot towards the end of this thing, especially where Sheamus, he sets up for the bro kick, and Matt Riddle just collapses because he could barely stand. The clover leaf by Sheamus. Riddle had all of his offense in. He didn't hit the bro Derek, but he hit the bro Ton. He went for a moonsault, and I don't think he hit that. But, this was just really, really good. But at the end of this thing, Sheamus lands a white noise from the middle rope. I thought that was the end of it. He had them up in a white noise, boom, or air raid crash, Tommaso Ciampa, whatever. He hits that thing, and I thought it was done. But Matt Riddle kicks out, so then Sheamus goes for the bro kick, and then that's where Matt Riddle collapses. And then Sheamus talks trash. Riddle reverses it with a high kick. Sheamus goes for an electric chair slam, but Riddle reverses it. And then the pair, a little bit of back and forth. Riddle eventually rolling up Sheamus for the 1-2-3. So Sheamus still looks strong, like we always say. A roll up really doesn't hurt you as much as getting your shoulders pinned, after a finisher, 1-2-3. So I still think they're going to do some good stuff with Sheamus. Sheamus and Lashley would be a hell of a feud too. Doesn't really make sense for him to go after the Hurt Business, but I mean, that would be a good feud because those two guys will beat the hell out of each other. But this, for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, was the match of the night. Then backstage, we see Asuka. She's with Lana. Asuka heard that Lana wanted to challenge her, but Lana says that no, you just misunderstood. And, Asuka says that she likes challenges and that she will see her in the ring tonight. And that, hey, who knows? She might go home the Raw Women's Champion. And then she dances off, and Lana looks happy, but she's also like, oh, God, I know how me and Asuka is going to go in the ring. So, and then back live, they made it official. Lana will challenge Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship tonight, but we go to the Firefly Funhouse segment next. And then in the Firefly Funhouse segment, the pair says that tonight's episode of the Funhouse is about friendship, and Bray notes that friends always let you down, noting Randy Orton betrayed him and burned down his house. And then a frog puppet appears, and his name is Friendship Frog, and he believes that friendship lasts forever. And then Bray asks Alexa to show the frog what she's going to do to Nikki Cross tonight. So then Bray shifts Alexa into her dark state, and then she murders the frog. She has that big mallet that Bray usually has, and she beats the shit out of the frog. So then Bray asks the viewers to join them in a brief moment of silence for the frog. And at the end, he says it's a real shame that he croaked. And then they both laughed. Ha ha, frog, croak. They both do the hysterical, like they're, like they're like pissing their pants laughing. And then they wave bye. So good segment. Like I said, I'm usually always a fan of these, and you had to laugh at that stupid joke. He's like, oh, it's a shame he croaked. You had to laugh. So that was good. Then back in the ring, Asuka is set to defend her title against Lana after the break. So before this can begin, of course, you hear Nia Jax's theme. So her and Shayna Baszler come out, and they're going to be on commentary for this match. And when the match starts, Lana, she almost gets Asuka rolled up for the 1-2-3 right at the start of the thing. So that was like a, whoa, my God, try to false finish, get the fans all worried. But then Asuka quickly rolls out of the ring. And then she taunts Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler. She actually takes a water bottle, I think, like dumps it on him and shit. So they obviously get pissed off. They clock her. So this ends in DQ. So Asuka wins. So we didn't really get a match, but I mean, not that her and Lana, we saw that a couple weeks ago, and not that Lana would put on a good match, but I hope and the reason why I'm like, I don't love this whole Lana storyline is because she's not the greatest wrestler, but if she is practicing in the PC and trying to get better and stuff, maybe we'll see it. And if we do see the improvement, then I'm all for it. Because obviously everybody's not going to be, a Sasha Banks or an Asuka or Charlotte Flair or, anybody like that. But if they keep getting better and they show improvement, then you can't knock them. At least if you do, you're an asshole. So then post-match, Nia Jax, she attempts to put Asuka through a table, but Lana helps her make the save. So Jax is, they're pissed. They take the mic. They ask for a tag match. And when we come back live, we see that we do get this tag match. So obviously it's the women's tag team champs going against the baby faces here, Asuka and Lana. And I mean, this was okay. It didn't do really anything good. It kind of set up what I hope is going to be the next feud, which is Asuka and Shayna Baszler. Shayna was like, the Incredible Hulk, and now she's like, Bruce Banner. She came into main roster and was tearing everybody apart. She's still a force to be reckoned with, but definitely not as formidable, I guess you could say, as, terrifying as a monster. But that's hopefully the next feud we get out of this. But at the end of this thing, Asuka's kick is caught by Baszler, and then she follows up with a high knee for a near fall. Things break down outside the ring. Lana avoids Jax, who falls over the announce desk. She kind of charges, like just flies right over the top. So Nia Jax is taken out of this thing. And then as Lana kind of is walking backwards, away from the announce table towards the ring, Shayna leans through the ropes, gets her in the Kirifuda clutch, which I don't understand because she wasn't the legal woman. So that's just stupid on Shayna's part. But then Asuka comes from behind, rolls her up for the 1-2-3. So the winners are Asuka and Lana. Pretty good that Asuka won here. She needed to look strong, especially after losing at Survivor Series. So like I said, hopefully the next feud is her and Shayna Baszler. I'd like to see that. But then back, we see Riddle. He's with MVP. He wants to wish Lashley good luck in his match against Keith Lee. Riddle puts over Lee and tries to talk business investments with MVP, such as pizza-flavored yogurt or Brogurt. And then MVP says that he's not Riddle's bro, and he tells him to come up with his best investment ideas and come back in a few weeks. MVP and company doesn't like Riddle's ideas. They'll do business themselves. So, decent promo. Maybe we're going to see a feud there. Matt Riddle going against Bobby Lashley. Maybe that will be the new mid-card U.S. Championship feud, which I'd be happy with that. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. After this match we saw with Lashley tonight and just what we've been seeing with him for weeks, I want the title off him only so he can be WWE champion. I know Drew is so legit, but, he's got to win it sooner or later. Bobby Lashley's too good, and he's gone through too much bullshit and the way that he flipped his career around. So you got to give it to him. And then we go to the ring for Keith Lee versus Bobby Lashley after they showed some Survivor Series, just like replays and stuff, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns. So this match was really good. Keith Lee, Bobby Lashley. The whole story was who's stronger here? Is it Bobby Lashley? Is it Keith Lee? It's just like they're saying pound for pound, Lashley's probably the strongest guy in WWE. They said the same thing about Cesaro, but to me, they're 1A and 1B. Both those guys are like, they're Scott Steiners. They're genetic freaks. So this was really good. And then as it went on a little bit, Keith Lee, who was, he was almost, I would say, pretty much getting dominated the first half of this match. Bobby Lashley was really strong. Keith Lee would like fight out of it, but Lashley's just strength just kept him down. But all it took was Keith Lee to get a little bit of room. He would mount an offense, and on the outside, he hit that big cross body, rolled Lashley back in the ring, but MVP shoves him into the ring post, and you think that's the end of it. And then he gets rolled in the ring, and then Lashley goes to do the hurt lock, but he can't get his hands quite around Keith Lee's, big arms, his big neck. He breaks out of that. And then what happened? I think MVP, I think Lee just picks him up and just like slams him down, or just, he doesn't do like a signature, like he didn't hit the spirit bomb or anything like that. He might have even just pounced him, or I think that's actually how he took him out of the ring rather, but he ends up just knocking Lashley down, and then MVP runs in, boom, clocks Keith Lee. So then that pretty much ends his thing. Keith Lee goes on. He didn't want to see his, business partner or business investment, or just, he didn't want to see Bobby Lashley get pinned, essentially. So, he caused the DQ. Now, I don't know if this is going to cause some friction. Maybe we'll see next week. Maybe we'll see, which I really hope they don't break up the Hurt Business. That would be so stupid. But so I hope there is no friction, but I want to see if Lashley was fine with that, or if that was something where he's like, I would have kicked out. I don't know why you cost me this match. So we'll see how that goes. And then back live, the announce team, they transition into a video package showcasing the long-term friendship, and then, the tension and eventual breakup in the friendship between Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. And then backstage, we see Nikki Cross. She's being interviewed. She says that she didn't give up on Bliss. Bliss gave up on her. And then Cross adds that she tried and she's done trying, making it clear that Bliss wants the Fiend. And then Nikki says that she's so sick and tired of worrying about Bliss, so tonight she's going to beat the Fiend out of her. And then as we go, she goes to the ring for this match as it goes to commercial breaks. And then we, Nikki Cross enters. Then we see Alexa Bliss enter. And this match was decent because of the story it told. And I think Nikki Cross is another one. She's a sleeper. I would love to see her be Raw Women's Champ. She never did it in NXT. She couldn't beat Asuka. But now the mystique of Asuka is kind of like, it's the same thing with Shayna Baszler. She's not as legit and as crazy and as unbeatable as she will. Well, technically she was unbeaten in NXT, but now I think because that mystique and that veil kind of came away, okay, Asuka can afford to lose now and time again. Nikki Cross to me would be such a legit feud to see. So, I'm hoping that they do that after this Alexa Bliss thing. Let's say Asuka gets you through Shayna Baszler. This would be the next feud I would do because Nikki Cross deserves it. But this match, like I said, it did what it needed to do. Nikki Cross, she was kind of just like Alexa Bliss was toying with her. And you could feel that Nikki was like conflicted. And then eventually Nikki started getting an offense in and just really dominating. But then Bliss kind of like was crying. She's pleading. She's like, no, please stop. And then like, no, we're friends. So again, really playing with her emotions in the head games here. And then she's like, okay. And they kind of hug. And as she hugs, then she hits like a Sister Abigail. Obviously, it's kind of when they were standing. So it wasn't. She hit it good for the position it was because she didn't have her in the normal Sister Abigail position. But so she pins her out of nowhere. So this is good. This feud's going to continue. Like I said, hopefully this and then the Asuka Shayna Baszler thing kind of line up. And then I would move Nikki Cross onto that. So this I enjoyed, or I didn't hate rather. It wasn't like the best thing ever, but it did what it needed to do. Then back live, we see a video tribute to The Undertaker from yesterday. They replay that. And obviously, again, we'll be sitting the review now that, a day has gone by. It was a very good tribute, but I wish they wouldn't have brought everybody out. That just, to me, just killed it. That was like the big, like in Big Daddy, it's just like you have all those people there. It's like, surprise. Like, we wasted the good surprise on you. So then everybody had that energy, but then that energy was wasted on just the people who didn't matter. Then when the guy who showed up whose birthday was, everyone was like, oh, hey. It's like, we don't care about, like, no offense, we don't care Ric Flair and Savio Vega, the Godwins, the Godfather, JBL, Shane O'Mac. We don't care. We're here for The Undertaker. So, but they showed all that good stuff. And then to the ring for the main event. See, look, main event. Look at what happens when your segments are long matches and boom, boom, boom. The show flies by quick. So main event, AJ Styles, for Randy Orton. This was the best match to have for the main event, just because this was a WrestleMania rematch, and just everything that happened at the end of this match. But this was really good. Obviously, there's no way AJ Styles and Randy Orton can't put on a good match. Randy Orton, he just came out of this great feud with Drew McIntyre, but, there's still the thing where, Randy Orton isn't, he's not the most exciting wrestler. He's boring. He does the same moves. But, I mean, hey, his moves are legit. I love that neck breaker that he does over his back. That's really cool. And just, I'm a big fan of Randy Orton. I know some people, they're indifferent to him. Some people even hate him. I like Randy Orton a lot, but when he has matches with AJ Styles could put on a good match with me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, AJ, just the way he flies and he takes bumps and just AJ's fantastic. AJ is probably my favorite current wrestler, definitely one of my top 5 of all time. So this was a good match. And to skip kind of to the end of this thing, Styles strikes at Orton, but he regains momentum with a power slam. Then Orton measures Styles looking for an RKO, but Styles reverses it and hits an enziguri. And then Orton slips out of the ring to avoid the pin. But then Styles heads to the outside, but shortly after the Fiend's music hits, Orton is distracted, but he gets back into the ring, back into things, and hits a draping DDT. Then he looks for the RKO, but the lights go down again, and the Fiend music hits, and this time he's behind Orton. So then the lights turn back on. Orton's, like, confused. He has no idea what's going on. Styles is obviously on the apron, setting up for the phenomenal forearm. He hits it. 1, 2, 3. Your winner is AJ Styles. So now the triple threat match set for next week: Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, AJ Styles, and this is great. And it's hard to say who is going to win this. AJ and Drew, we kind of seen that before a little bit. I'm glad it wasn't Randy Orton. I'm fine with any of these guys. Like I said, Matt Riddle and the Hurt Business, especially Bobby Lashley. I would love to see that feud. Keith Lee would be a good one to move forward. But the thing is, with all 3 of these guys, I don't see any of them beating Drew. And that's fine. Drew, but it's the caliber of these guys. If it was going to be somebody who wasn't going to beat Drew, maybe do a Sheamus, because they have, the Scottish connection and, all that stuff. And, that's what I would do. I would have did Sheamus, just because we've seen that, like, the hinting at that, oh, hey, if you win the title back, we're going to go out and celebrate. And, oh, maybe you'll give me a title shot, something like that. But, regardless of who wins that triple threat next week, that should be a fantastic match. Whether they do that at Save It for TLC or whether they do it beforehand, we will have to wait and see. But that was Monday Night Raw for you, and a really good show. And another thing to really, I guess, to take note before we close here, they're going all in on the Fiend and Randy Orton, and that is a good feud. And that, to me, would be something where the Fiend goes over there, and then he should be the next one to challenge Drew. And if anybody's going to beat Drew, then that's how I would do it. Give it to the Fiend. But, is that maybe too short of a title reign for Drew? Who knows? But that's the great thing about wrestling. We can sit here, speculate, talk about it till we're blue in the face. But until we see it happen, all we got to do is wait. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, follow us on Facebook, on Rope Break, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, the original Rope Break on Instagram, and, of course, right here for the #1 home, of the YouTube, or the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, the original Rope Break. There we go. Finally spit it out. So, follow us on all the social media, guys. Thank you for all the support. Like I said in the beginning, we appreciate it, and we're only going to keep growing and keep doing more for you. So stay tuned. We're probably going to have some soccer videos. Juan, Kleber, Mauricio, my boys, they're going to have some soccer videos coming out for you guys. And then, of course, we're going to have NXT for you right at when the show ends on Wednesday night. So, guys, we'll see you next time.